Cabinet has approved the expenditure of $88,290,505.60 for rehabilitation work to the roof, structure, and bathroom facilities at the Old Naval Hospital. Through collaboration between the Urban Development Corporation, the Tourism Enhancement Fund, the Jamaica National Heritage Trust, work on the facilities being undertaken as part of the development of museums at the Historic Royal Naval Hospital and Historic Walkway Project. The contract was awarded to Build Right Construction and will involve rehabilitation of the roof and cast iron structural frame of the Old Naval Hospital's main building and the refurbishing and reconfiguration of 2 existing brickwork constructed buildings, wall and floor finishes, painting, installation of sanitary fittings, and electrical works. The work is to be carried out over a 4-month period. The National Water Commission has started a tank and pump operational efficiency program to help boost potable water supplies to rural communities. It is aimed at improving energy and operational efficiency in the NWC. The project involves assessment of NWC potable water storage tank, identifying problems and shortfalls of existing facilities, identification of demand centers, and changing the location of storage tanks, among other things. A contract for $55,650,780 was awarded to the Rural Water Supply Limited for consultancy and technical services. The Rural Water Supply Limited designs and constructs water supply systems which, when completed, are handed over to the NWC, local authorities, community organizations, or private sector entities. Cabinet has approved the award of a contract through the Sports Development Foundation to Burley Burger Show'em Stuff work in the sum of US $1,533,217 for the reconstruction of the running track at the G.C. Foster College of Physical Education and Sport in St. Catherine. The running track at the G.C. Foster College has been declared unfit, and it is imperative that it be replaced as a matter of urgency. The work will involve the removal of the existing surface, excavation and installation of the base and sub-base material, rehabilitation of the infield and surface water control works. The contractor will carry out the required civil engineering works, site preparation, drainage, and the laying of the synthetic surface. When completed, the G.C. Foster track is expected to receive Level 2 International Amateur Athletic Federation IAAF certification. G.C. Foster College trains students, athletes, coaches, physical education teachers, and there is also a growing demand for Jamaica to enter into bilateral arrangements for the training of student athletes, teachers, and coaches from other countries. Cabinet has approved the construction of a 304-bed dormitory at the Tamarind Farm Adult Correctional Center. The value of the contract is $194,870,000. Jamaica's 2 major correctional facilities are centuries old, with sections posing safety risks for both staff and inmates. With the facilities experiencing major overcrowding, the Ministry of National Security has taken the decision to expand the capacity of the medium security facilities, of which Tamarind Farm is one such facility. The contract is for the construction of a 2-story, 14.4 thousand square feet dormitory-style block to house inmates. It will include 16 solitary confinement single cells and 16 dormitories, each with a capacity of 18. The project will commence shortly and will run for 9 months. Last month, the Honorable Prime Minister activated the national response to the outbreak of CHIKV. It was aimed at mobilizing the nation and national resources, both human and financial, to deal with the CHIKV outbreak. The objective was and remains a reduction of the mosquito breeding sites as indicated by the mapping that has been done by the Ministry of Health. $350 million of $500 million was set aside for the cleanup effort. The remaining $150 million is being utilized by the Ministry of Health for CHIKV and Ebola preparation and related expenses. Parish councils and members of parliament have been active in their communities and are leading the effort. Jamaicans are heeding the call to take personal responsibility for removing containers and clearing areas in which water settles and where mosquitoes can lay eggs and multiply. Today, the team is here to update you on the efforts, the challenges, and the successes. And I will now turn to Colonel Price, the man who is now popularly referred to as Colonel CHIKV, and he will give you an update and then we'll take questions. Yeah, just give him a cordless mic, please.
Good morning to you all.
Good morning, Colonel.
I hope that by the end of this program, I am not rechristened, because if it is coming from the seat of power that I'm now Colonel CHIKV, I don't know what's going to happen out to the public. But thank you all for coming. I will give you an update as to what we've been doing over the last several weeks. My presentation will take the form as indicated on the slide. I talk about the aim of the project, the structure of the committee, the approval process, our partners, the communities that we have cleaned and impacted, our future projects, and then I will answer the questions that you may have. The aim of this project is to execute an island-wide cleanup of the environment and an integrated vector control program specifically geared at destruction of the Aedes aegypti mosquito breeding site, and thereby drastically reducing the incidence of persons being affected by the virus. This committee is ably coordinated by the senator, and that's myself here that's leading. From the Ministry of Finance and Planning, Mrs. Rose Phillips, seated down there, and from the Ministry of Transport, Works and Housing, Mrs. Lucille Stella Broadback. And from NSWMA, Ms. Jennifer Edwards. This secretariat is made up of the following persons: Ms. Michelle Edwards, Mrs. Karima Aiken-Mitchell, and Karima. We have also Ms. Orthia Gray, Mrs. Joan Witter, Mr. Glenn Don Nelson, Miss Michelle Williams, Lisa Marie there, and Miss Amoy Kelly. They're all working feverishly at the Secretariat. The approvals subcommittee, made up of myself, Mr. Thompson, Lucille Broadba, Jennifer Edwards, and Dr. Ducasse. The approval process. First thing that happens is that the MPs or the parish councils are required to submit a detailed work plan. This would entail the proposed budget and specify how funds will be allocated. It should also state the location of the area to be cleaned, and each plan should specify the implementing agency. Once that is submitted, then the reviewing committee looks at it and will make a determination as to the viability of the plan and whether or not it accords with what it is that we hope to achieve. It is then approved, and an approval letter is sent out to the applicant by ODPM and a copy sent to the Jeep Secretariat. If it is not approved, we will indicate what are the areas that require some tidying up, and it is resubmitted and the process goes through. Once a plan, a work plan, is fully approved, this is where the funding takes place, and that is done by the Jeep Secretariat lady here, Mrs. Stella Broadba, who will deposit a 50% to the implementing agent, not to the individual, but the implementing agent, and work commence. We are very particular about the execution of these work programs. We require a before and after photograph. So before you start the work, we will send persons out and we will look at it, we'll take photographs, and after the work is complete, we will look at it, we'll take after photograph, and we'll sign off on the work, and further payments are made. Projects that have been approved so far, we have approved 39 MPs projects and 11 parish councils. Our partners, ODPM, the Jamaica Constabulary Force, the Jamaica Defense Force, National Works Agents, Social Development Commission, National Solid Waste Management Authority. We have 3 lines of operation, and you might have heard this on a number of occasions. We have the public education, we have the community cleanup initiatives, and then we have the heavy duty task force. By educating the citizens, we'll have what we call health ambassadors who have been trained by the Ministry of Health, that they will go in the communities and they will interact with the residents and citizens and tell them about the program, tell them about the virus, tell them how they can mitigate against the spread of the virus, and they also check the number of containers that would be breeding mosquitoes in and around the immediate environment, and will seek to destroy them as they go along. So far, we have trained just over 200 health ambassadors all over the island, and more are to be trained. Communities that have been impacted and cleaned over in Portmore, 27 communities, and you'll see them flashing on the screen, and a number of others in Western Jamaica and in the Kingston and metropolitan region. We did some work over in Portmore, and I must commend the local authority there, led by the mayor, in the acting mayor, Mr. Leon Thomas, in Portmore. He was instrumental in gathering the troops together within Portmore, the councillors, the community leaders, the religious leaders in the communities, and they came out. And we also had private partners working with us. You've seen them on the screen: YP Seaton, Dwight's Construction, General Paving, and Surrey Paving. These companies gave of their substance. They provided equipment free of cost, and we used that to help with the cleanup effort in the Portmore area. This was a large drain in Portmore that had not been cleaned for several years. And through the efforts of our private partner, we were able to do some cleaning. This is what it looked like after the cleaning was done and water was able to flow. This was one of the breeding sites because it was fresh water, and it is one of the areas that favors the Aedes aegypti mosquito. We also went into Tivoli Gardens. This also is a drain that you see here. This is what it looked like before. Trees were growing in it, and this is what it looked like afterwards. Now I can tell you, we carted out just under 400 tons of solid waste from that gully, and this is over like a 500-meter length. And we clean that. That also is Tivoli Gardens, and we're doing some work there. The Member of Parliament, Mr. Mackenzie, he had been instrumental in us going there to deal with those areas. Naturally, there are several other areas that we would love to, but we just don't have the money, we just don't have the equipment and the personnel to do all the areas. So what we do is require of the Member of Parliament what are his priority areas, and we seek to work with that. Washington Mews, this is in Portmore. This is what the drain looked like. Had not been cleaned for some time. And then we started cleaning, and you'd see what it looks like in a few minutes. This is still Washington Mews. You'll be amazed to see the sort of stuff that we remove from these drains. You're talking, I think, not only are we bedeviled by chickpea, but we have been affected by the virus called plastic bottles and styrofoam boxes. They clog the drains in a major way. This is in Southborough. In this drain we had implements like old fans, electric fans, and mattresses in this drain, and the water was not able to move, and so we thought it would be good to clean the drain, and we did. This is Fairview Park. Again, you can see the plastic bottles, and this gentleman, I had to employ him right on the spot to be able to. This is the culvert that goes across the road. So the drain would come along here and cross the road and onto the right-hand side of the road. And this was clogged, so the water could not move. And so he said he didn't have a problem getting down there and cleaning it because it was his community. And so I gladly jumped on the opportunity to have the water flowing. There's several of those, and this is it being done on the other side of the road. Sorry? Yes. This is Dr. Ball's constituency. To be cleaned, or this is being cleaned as we speak. Ebonyville is a large freshwater drain that is there, and one of the ideas behind this one is if we should have significant rain, we'll have significant flooding, because this is significantly clogged by overgrowth and a lack of cleaning over many years. Seaview is to be cleaned. And you might wonder, with these water lilies, the mosquitoes themselves ensconce themselves in the leaves of these lilies. And you agitate it and you'll be amazed to see them rising like the phoenix. This is New Haven, an area that requires some attention, and we will be attending to it shortly. Proposed project. I know you might be thinking, yes, Chick-V is migrating to the west. Yes, we are going to the west. Last week we were down there, and significant work is being done by the local authority in the west. I must commend the mayors, certainly in Trelawney, the mayor in Hanover and St. James. They are up to their game, and they have been working ever since they have heard of the Chick-V. Now, feast yourself a little, just sit back a little and relax and just focus your attention here.
Sure.
Mosquito 1, mosquito 2, mosquito jump in a hot color, mosquito bite me, mosquito bite you. When me tell you what a mosquito bite can do. When you come here, we not hear what they done here. We not the flu, the measles, pneumonia. A day we are make pit the belly run ya. But the first we are here chicken gun ya, eat down ya. No know who bring it come ya. Well if a plane or a bus or a Honda, some see a mosquito nobody not sure, but he make a bag of young people a move forward. A bag of young people
that is what we hope to do. The video there really encapsulate what it is that we hope to do. I will now invite any questions that you might have.
These
Volunteers from the Secretariat.
Minister, morning. If
morning.
I could move away from Chickpea for a moment.
That's exactly what you were going to do. You're so predictable.
All right, Minister, we've seen where the Prime Minister has decided to keep the NHT board intact. She has added some new members, and this is despite calls from Jamaican civil society groups and even within her own party to perhaps dismiss the board. Why did the Prime Minister decide to retain the current chairman and the remaining members of the board?
The matter was discussed extensively at the Cabinet, and we looked at all the facts that we had, and it was determined that the board did nothing wrong based on all the facts that we had, and the Cabinet took a decision, which the Cabinet approves all boards, by the way, and the Cabinet took a decision that we would add additional members with more to come.
All right, let's explore the idea of the board having done nothing wrong. It is in the public domain, various statements from different members of the board and various statements from the Prime Minister made in Parliament. And there seems to be some amount of inconsistency.
What is the inconsistency that you want
Inconsistencies in one, what was purchased at Orange Grove. The Prime Minister in Parliament said the property was purchased.
And property means land and buildings.
The Prime Minister detailed what was purchased in Parliament, and what she said was purchased was the property, a standby generator, fuel tank, and office furniture.
And she was absolutely correct. Property means land and buildings.
But
22,000 square feet of buildings.
But when Mr. Douglas, the chairman of the NHD, detailed what was purchased, the list was a lot more extensive than that which the Prime Minister gave in Parliament.
And you know, I think the
can
best
Can I point to another inconsistency? The NHD chairman, at some point, he was quoted in the Glean at one point saying that the property will be developed and will be operated to make a profit. The Prime Minister in Parliament said that was not done. In fact, the rights to the property was not purchased. So there we see another inconsistency. The chairman had said also that some housing will be set up on the property. The Prime Minister said that was not the plan.
Well,
so
I cannot speak to those issues in terms of what the chairman said. I think I can speak to what the Prime Minister said, which I heard and heard in detail. So I'm not going to have any discussions at all about what the chairman said and what the inconsistencies are. The chairman had a briefing, and I believe that you had the opportunity to ask him about those. I know what the Prime Minister said. I know what the information is that we have, and that is what I am basing my answers on to you today. I speak on behalf of the Cabinet.
The Prime Minister's answers to the questions in Parliament would have been informed by the NHD board, led by the chairman, and therefore...
And there were specific questions, and the Prime Minister answered those truthfully.
And I'm saying those statements made by the Prime Minister in Parliament are inconsistent with those made by the NHD
chairman. And I am
chairman.
telling you that the Prime Minister answered those questions truthfully. And those are the facts that she has, and she answered them truthfully. So I have nothing else to say on that matter.
Is the Prime Minister satisfied that she was fully briefed of the situation at Orange Grove?
The Prime Minister and the Cabinet are satisfied that we have all the information. And let me also remind you that the Auditor General is now looking at the project, and of course, we will also await her findings as well.
Is the Prime Minister not concerned that the information that the NHT chairman presented to the public is different from that which she would have presented in Parliament?
What the Prime Minister presented was the correct information. I will say no more on the NHT matter. The Prime Minister will answer further questions next week. That is the end of the matter. I'm not saying any more here. The chairman of the NHT has spoken. The cabinet has sent out a press release, and I think we should await when the Prime Minister answers questions in Parliament. Any other issue?
Does the fact that the Prime Minister decided to keep the board means she endorsed what the board did?
The Prime Minister and the Cabinet, let me repeat, the Cabinet approves boards. The Cabinet, there was nothing that we found. They did not break the law, and we did not find any hint of corruption at all. And therefore, the Cabinet made a decision based on that information. I am saying nothing more on the NHT.
Does this mean then that the Prime Minister endorsed the decision that was made by the board?
Do you have another question?
No, I want an answer to that
Do you
question.
have another question? I'm not answering, I've said that.
Minister.
Do you have a question on
Yeah,
another issue?
Minister, we noticed that the microphone was physically taken from the journalist by an OPM official. And Minister, we find this as an affront to the freedom of the press. And we object strongly to that, Minister.
No, but you...
With due respect, Minister. No, but
And
Minister,
may I
Minister,
answer
please,
that?
we are invited here, Minister. Minister.
Hold on, with
Minister.
the greatest of respect. I determine what I answer here, and I can only answer you based on the facts that I have. Journalists should not come to this briefing and believe if they have not heard what they want to hear, they're going to badger me. That is not how it works. I'm going to answer truthfully. I'm going to answer with the facts that we have. I am making it clear. The Prime Minister has answered questions in Parliament. She answered them truthfully. The NHT chairman spoke. The Cabinet sent out a press release. The Prime Minister will answer questions next week. I am saying no more on the matter.
No, Minister, with due respect, Minister.
Chance the press has had to ask the government about this pressing issue, a national issue.
But I've answered it, Andre, I've answered it. Not because you have not heard what you want to hear. I've answered the questions. I'm not, but I've said all that I need to say right now.
No.
Because you're asking me the same thing over and over, and I've responded. What?
I simply asked if the Prime Minister endorses the decision that was taken by the board, because she has decided to keep the board in place. Does the Prime Minister endorse what the board did?
The Cabinet, let me repeat, the Cabinet approves board appointments. The Cabinet looked at the information. The Cabinet was satisfied that the board acted within the law. The Cabinet was satisfied that the board operated within what they felt was the best interest of the NHT. The property that was acquired, 9.12 acres of land, plus over 22,000 square feet of buildings. The price that was paid for the property, from all indications, it was value for money.
Mr. Denny, you have a question?
Yes, Minister.
Please ask the question.
Yeah, Minister. I received a document here from the National Housing Trust
Yes.
at the press briefing. And the document said that the property offered for purchase to the NHT was in keeping with the board's deliberations concerning a Jamaica 50 legacy project. Black and white here, I'm not adding anything to it. I'm reading verbatim from this circulated document by the NHT board. And
Were you at the press briefing?
I was at the press briefing, and the chairman of the board, the Honorable Easton Douglas, told the media, assembled the media, that the legacy project was not a consideration with respect to the purchase of the property. So that's a clear inconsistency, Minister.
But
Minister, hold on, Minister, Minister,
I
with due
think
respect,
you're being
Minister.
unfair to
No,
me.
Minister,
I
I'm not being
was
unfair
not
to you,
at the
Minister.
press briefing. I would not have had an opportunity. I think you had every opportunity to ask the chairman about what you feel are inconsistencies.
No, but Minister, the chairman did not. The chairman stonewalled the situation and was not forthcoming. This is the only opportunity.
But
as the media.
I was not there at those discussions, so
But
it's
I was
unfair
there.
to ask me.
I was there. Okay, my next question is, Colonel Price, I just wanted to find out, no pun intended, what price is being paid for this, which appears to be urban decay, you spoke about the tremendous amount of overgrowth and work that should have been done long ago, not done. What price are we paying for this urban decay with respect to the cleanup, as you mentioned? Because you did not say, you said that proposals were requested by members of parliament, etc. But you did not state what was there a budgetary limit? How much was, you did not indicate anything about how much it's going to be costing a particular project. And therefore, we just want some clarification.
Hold on. It was announced here right at this table that each member of parliament would be allocated $2 million. Each parish council would be allocated $5 million, and that they are to put in a work program based on that budget.
That was announced here this morning?
Not this morning.
Oh,
it was
because I thought I was
prior.
asleep, and I don't think I fell asleep, you know. I'm saying, Minister, how much money has been expended to date? Because you said that 350 million was going to be spent through JEEP, and how this become a JEEP project now? And, you know, it's not clear in my mind. I want to explain. You explain this to me.
Lucille, you want to take that one?
Yes. The Ministry of Transport and Works and Housing, working through JEEP, because JEEP is one of the agencies under or part of the Ministry of Transport and Works, right? Is responsible for the management and monitoring of the funds received from the Ministry of Finance. Also on the committee is, that's what I'm speaking about. Also on the committee is Mrs. Phillips on the Ministry of Finance, who is also a part of the monitoring of the funds, okay? The JEEP Secretariat is responsible for ensuring that the funds are spent in the manner that it is expected to be spent, because this is not just a cleanup exercise, it's a vector control exercise. So sometimes some of the large drains that you see, which might have in garbage and so on, do not have any reason, there's no reason for us to feel that, you know, they, yes, that there's a problem there. So the Ministry of Health, working with the Ministry of Health and the local health authority, they sign off, everybody sign off, the parish council, including the Ministry of Finance, so that payments are, you know, made. So we give them an advance at the beginning so that they can start the work. Parish council and implementing agencies, which are the parish councils, KSAC, SDC, NWA. Those are some of the implementing agencies, and the work is done according to the program and in the guidelines outlined by the Ministry of Health.
The Health Ambassador program, how much that costing, and is that an ongoing program? Because we have public health inspectors. Are they not replacing public health inspectors?
I don't know what.
No, the health ambassadors are not. Well, the name that is given, I think it was probably just a coined name. They are not replacing the public health ambassadors. What you find is that the public health inspectors, sorry. What you find that given the magnitude of the situation, you need additional persons on ground. So most of these persons are actually volunteers. And what they do after training, they do go out and assist the public health inspectors in some of the larvicidal activity and the general public education. They are not replacing, because, you know, public health inspectors are extensively trained to do what they do. But it is adding numbers to the field in order to attack the problem at present. Because what we don't want to happen is that come January, when there's an additional rainy season, that we have an escalation of the problem. We are working extensively to have the numbers trending down. So you need more persons in the field in order for us to carry out the overall response.
Abka Fitzhenley, Nationwide News. Question to the Information Minister. I just purport to put a few questions regarding something you said in an atmosphere of civility. You stated earlier that the Cabinet had found that the board did nothing wrong. Can you explain to me the process or the factors that guided that finding that nothing wrong?
I did say I wasn't going to answer any other questions, but I will say the Cabinet was briefed by the NHT board, members of the NHT board. The Cabinet also had an opportunity to look at all the information presented to us.
Okay, so you're not willing at this point to expand on the factors that would have guided that finding?
No, we don't. we never at this briefing give details of cabinet discussions.
Okay,
we deal with cabinet decisions.
I'll ask this though, in light of that decision published on Monday night that the board, Mr. Easton Douglas and his colleagues would remain, there has been some sort of what may be referred to as backlash, some civil society groups indicating that they'll withdraw from the social partnership, etc. In light of that, is the Simsimila administration and the cabinet, the Prime Minister, willing to reconsider the move not to fire Mr. Douglas and his colleagues who participated in the outage?
That's a hard question, because we have not met as a cabinet since that decision was made on Monday, so I would not be able to give you an answer on that. But we value our civil society partners, our private sector partners, our church partners, and I know that I have spoken to at least one church leader, and I asked him, did you have a brief with the board of the NHT? And up to the time when I spoke to him, they never sat down with the NHT and had a briefing from them. And I would encourage them to sit down with the NHT board and the NHT management and get a brief from them on all the factors that went into the decisions that were made.
Okay. In light of the fact that the matter is under investigation by the country's leading anti-corruption agency, which is the Office of the Contractor General and the Auditor General, do you feel a statement by you that the board did nothing wrong may prejudice those investigations?
And I was very clear. I said, based on the information we have, the Contractor General and the Auditor General will certainly do a deeper investigation. And if they have additional information that they can present to us with the facts, I'm sure those are considerations that the cabinet will look at.
Okay, my final quick two, Mr. Medley, if you will allow me, are this. Did cabinet at all consider that the fact that the matter is under investigation by the OCG and the Auditor General, it would be best that the board members step aside and facilitate that investigation? Was that at all a consideration?
Cabinet considered all factors, and Cabinet made a decision which we communicated Monday night. We felt that at this time, based on the information that we have, that was the best decision at this time.
Okay, and the final one is this. A member of the administration who happens to be the mayor of Kingston stated, I wish the NHT board had just shut up. We need people in public service who really care about the public. End of quote. That's the mayor of Kingston, Angela Brownberg. One, Minister, do you agree, and do you believe that the matter has been poorly communicated?
I believe that the NHT could have been more forthright in the beginning and could have come quicker to explain the purchase. I believe there were some communication in the beginning, how they explained the purchase. It could have been done differently. I believe the chairman himself even said so, that he could have communicated the whole matter differently. I have no personal opinion when I sit at this table. I speak on behalf of the cabinet.
Thank you.
So, Minister, as information means you don't take responsibility for that breakdown in communication?
I don't speak on behalf of the NHT. The NHT is an agency that operates with some degree of independence.
No, Minister, you are responsible for communications with the government.
We recognize Mr. Jebens, who is going to ask a question.
I have two more questions. To what level or what degree does the Prime Minister monitor NHT being one of the largest and most significant entities within her portfolio? Because this seems to have been a hands-off approach.
No, it's not a hands-off approach. The way that the NHT has operated over the years, that I have been told that the NHT has operated over the years, the NHT does not report every single purchase to the line minister. and the NHD gives, there is a quarterly report that comes to the permanent secretary. That quarterly report did not contain any issues relating to purchase of property. It mostly deals with housing solutions, and that is, and perhaps one of the things that we can look at going forward is how we can change this to give the line minister more information coming out of the NHD. But based on what I've been told, this has been the practice over the years.
Yeah, but with such a great demand for housing in the country, and the Prime Minister, through her portfolio, and the NHD, they should have a responsibility to ensure that these housing needs are met.
No, and that's what I said. The quarterly report speaks a lot to the housing solutions that are being built across the country by the NHD. That this is what comes to the permanent secretary.
So the Prime Minister who gives
and she policy, would get them.
Hold on, Mr. Founder. The Prime Minister who gives policy direction to the National Housing Trust. This purchase was made, well finalized last year, and the Prime Minister does not know, or did not know at the time, about this purchase?
Neither the Prime Minister nor the Permanent Secretary knew of the purchase.
All right, in following up on the question from Abka, Venetia Phillips, a member of the People's National Party, she said on her Facebook page, I think that filling the vacancies on the board is a slap in the face of the people. I feel insulted as a Jamaican and violated as a comrade. Even if legally the board was within its power, there is a wrong and a right way to go about doing things. Can you respond to that, please?
That's her opinion. I have no further comments on that.
Mr. Denny? Minister, you are the information minister. Am I correct? Are you the information minister, sir? No, I don't know. I just want to make sure I'm not, misquoting your title. And as information minister, you report on matters relating to cabinet. Am I correct?
Yes.
Therefore, this matter of the housing trust, you can't say that you don't report on housing trust matters, because it's a matter that comes to cabinet, and it was deliberated on for 5 hours at the cabinet.
Yes, and that's why I'm answering the question.
No, but Minister, in answering a question, my concern a while ago about where the responsibility stops, and you're saying that you don't.
Hold on.
So you wish to withdraw that statement that you do not report on.
No, it's not withdrawing. I think you need to understand what I was trying to say to you.
That's a bright minister, please.
Hopton, please, don't be a drama queen right now, or king rather. But Hopton, I don't go into the NHD.
You said drag queen, Minister?
No. No, I think we need to wrap up the briefing, because I think it is. No, Hopton, you're really taking this thing beyond.
Any other questions? No, I'm looking at this document.
No, let me explain.
Yes,
let me explain. Sorry.
While the composer said, Minister, just deal this question, Minister, please. It's I'm looking at page 3. I'm looking at page 3, Minister. This document circulated.
Hopton, I'm not going to go into that document. Let me explain to you. The National Housing Trust operates separately from the Office of the Prime Minister. It has its own structure. It has its own mandate. It has its own team of communications persons that deal with the decisions that they make until it is escalated to the cabinet. I cannot go into the NHD and say do this. We don't interfere with the day-to-day operations of the NHD.
No. Minister, a member of the OPM board. I'm on the floor, Jebis. A member of the OPM board. A member of the OPM board, Madam yes. Information Minister, sits on the board of the housing trust. The portfolio minister is the most honorable Portia Simpson Miller. And therefore, there has to be some, and you talk about joint-up government, so there has to be some relationship between the OPM, the housing trust, and the Prime Minister. I'm sorry, I'm not a management expert.
There is a Public Bodies and Management Act that governs the way that these agencies operate. Until it is presented to us, if the cabinet calls them to a meeting and we get the information, I report on the deliberations of the cabinet.
Thank you, Minister.
Yes, but hold on. I am not here to tell you what you want to hear, though. I am here to answer the questions honestly and give you as much information as I can.
The final questioner for this session.
You can ask me afterwards. I'm done. Yes, she will. We'll talk to you afterwards.
Good morning. Okay.
Ms. Lewis, go ahead.
Hi.
Good morning. Nika Lewis from CVM News. This is for the Minister. Minister, when I was speaking at the press conference with the NHT recently, it came up that the board had made some final decisions and information was passed on later on because it was said that normally, or over the last 38 years, that was the way it worked. I can accept that. However, I'm a bit baffled by the checks and balances in the system as it relates to the board. Is it that that board is infallible? Or rather, as I asked one of the members, if it were a case where an issue like this was made on the wrong grounds or it was outside of the mandate of the NHT, who would have picked up on it and how would it have been addressed in a matter like that? So pretty much, I just want to know the checks and balances in that regard.
Well, the way we get reports, as I said, we get quarterly reports. Also, there are annual financial statements that are done. There's an audit that is done every year, and that's the same for most agencies that operate under the government of Jamaica. But we would hope that the management and the board of the NHT, under the guidance of the Public Bodies Accountability and Management Act, that they would, do all their due diligence and ensure that all that they do is within the mandate that they have.
Okay, if I could just follow on that just a little bit. In the event that that hope is not fulfilled or they do not do their due diligence, who steps in?
Well, when the evidence is presented, we can't act unless we have the evidence that they did not follow their mandate, and when the evidence is presented, then we will act.
Okay. Are we to assume, therefore, that if they had done something wrong, they would have presented that information as well?
Well, we have looked at all the evidence that we have. We have looked at all the information, the minutes of the board, and we have looked at sales agreement and other factors. And based on that, we have made our decision.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Minister.
much.
Thank you, ladies and
No,
gentlemen.
I have one quick question.
End of the press
And
briefing.
I know Mr. Medley will not, again, in this National Journalism Week, direct that my mic be cut. It's a question to do with the Office of the Prime Minister, and I thought I'd ask Minister Faulkner. And it's an issue that's causing unease in the wider society, also within the private sector, regarding the reporting relationship. Regarding the OPM representative on the NHT board, has she been asked to explain how come she did not inform the Most Honorable Prime Minister of the Outameni related transaction?
I know that she was asked by the permanent secretary to whom she reports. She reports directly to the permanent secretary. You know the structure within. They don't report to the political directorate at all. And I know she was asked by the permanent secretary, and she said that it's not the norm for them to report on every single transaction that the NHT makes.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
It's public information. Her name is Sonia Hyman. She's a senior member of staff here.
I like her socks.
No, I never.